This morning, we're going to have a look at the account of Jesus stilling the storm. We can read about it in Mark and Luke, but I've chosen to read from Matthew chapter 8, verses 23 to 27. Then Jesus got into the boat and started across the lake with his disciples. Suddenly, a fierce storm struck the lake, with the waves breaking into the boat. But Jesus was sleeping. The disciples went and woke him up, shouting, "Lord, save us, we're going to drown." Jesus responded, "Why are you afraid? You have so little faith." Then he got up and rebuked the wind and waves, and suddenly there was a great calm. The disciples were amazed. "Who is this man?" they asked. "Even the winds and waves obey him." I know what it's like to be in a little boat in windy conditions. When I was a child, my dad had a 16-foot wooden rowing boat with an outboard engine. Sometimes I'd go out fishing with him. He used to moor it at the side of the swing bridge until someone pinched it, and that ended our trips out into the bay. But he used to fish off the Dog Mills or off Mackled Head. And I remember one evening when we were on our way back from the Mackled direction, the wind just got up without warning, and the little boat really bounced in the waves. I remember singing, "When upon life's billows you are tempest-tossed." It was all a bit of fun, really, but it was still quite reassuring as we were going under the Queen's Pier, knowing that we were almost back at the harbour. We did make it safely, which was just as well, because in those days you didn't wear life jackets, although we could both swim. It must have been very scary for those disciples on the Sea of Galilee. Although they were experienced fishermen, the Sea of Galilee was known for its fierce storms. They could whip up suddenly without warning. The Sea of Galilee was 13 miles by 7 and 150 feet deep. The shoreline was 680 feet below sea level, and storms appeared without warning over the surrounding mountains, whipping up 20-foot waves. The fishermen would have taken their sails down and be rowing, and at the same time be trying to bail out the water that was coming in over the sides. While all this was going on, Jesus just slept right through it. Jesus was asleep. Some people may ask, where's God when they're experiencing trouble? They may think that he's asleep, not concerned about what they're going through. But this couldn't be further from the truth. He is in the boat with us. God knows all about suffering. He allowed Jesus to take the punishment for all the sin of the whole world, all of yours and all of mine, on the cross. Jesus, although he was and is God, became fully human to experience all the problems, all the emotions that we go through. And if we invite him into the boat of our lives, he goes through all these experiences with us. Jesus was in the boat with the disciples, but they still had problems. They needn't have feared because Jesus was with them. But they shouted, "Lord, save us, we're going to drown." Although Jesus asked them, "Why are you afraid? You've got so little faith," he did take control of the situation. Jesus was in the boat. They needn't have feared. God was with them. All they needed to do was have faith. We're told that he got up and rebuked the wind and the waves, and there was a great calm. The disciples were absolutely amazed. Who is this man? Even the winds and the waves obey him. They'd been with Jesus and they'd seen him perform other miracles, but now they see his power over nature. Of course, we know that he's the creator of everything that exists, the whole world, the universe, and beyond. Jesus, the Word, was there at creation, and he spoke everything into being. So he only had to say the word, and the wind and waves had to obey him. The passage we read started with Jesus getting into the boat. He must have had the disciples' permission to do that. Their boat was made available for his use. With Jesus in the boat, they were quite safe. Jesus wants to be invited into the boats of our lives. He doesn't do anything without our permission. He stands at the door of our hearts and knocks. He's a gentleman. He waits for an invitation to come in. He doesn't force his way. He doesn't promise calm waters, but he does promise to be with us. The old children's chorus says, "With Christ in the vessel, we can smile at the storm." We might not always feel like smiling, but we can experience God's presence and his peace in our lives. Whatever we go through in life, he wants to go through it with us. He doesn't want to leave us on our own. We were made to have a relationship with God. That relationship might have been broken, but it can always be restored. All we need to do is come before him, confessing our sin, thanking Jesus for taking the punishment on the cross for all we ever have done wrong, all we ever will do wrong, and ask his forgiveness, and then invite him into the boat of our lives.